Greetings everyone, my name is Robbie and I am one of the expert IELTS trainers at IELTS Coach Pro, and today we are going to give a brief overview of the IELTS writing test. It's usually the most difficult part of IELTS, but it doesn't have to be. So we're going to give a brief overview right now, and then in some other videos we'll break it down in more detail and give you more tips and strategies. But to give you an overview, the IELTS writing test is divided into 2 tasks, and you are given 60 minutes to complete those tasks. And you have to manage your own time, so they don't tell you when time for task 1 is over and it's time to start task 2. You just have to manage your entire 60 minutes. And task 2, they recommend spending 40 minutes on that and 20 minutes on task 1. But you don't have to do it exactly that way, as long as you can complete both tasks within an hour. And for our students, we actually recommend doing task 2 first, because it's worth twice as many points as task 1, and it takes a little bit more focus and a little bit more brain energy. And so by the time you get to IELTS writing, you will have already done listening and reading. Your brain's going to be a little bit fried, and you'll probably do better if you do task 2 first and then do task 1 writing. So let's take a look at what a task 1 question might look like. In task 1, you will be presented with a graph, table, chart, or diagram like this, and asked to describe, summarize, or explain the information in your own words. You may be asked to describe and explain data, describe the stages of a process, explain how something works, or describe an event or a picture of an object. You must write at least 150 words, and you are encouraged to spend about 20 minutes on task 1. In task 2, you will be asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. Task 2 must be at least 250 words, and you are encouraged to spend about 40 minutes on writing task 2. Now let's talk about the way they score IELTS writing. They give you a separate score from 1 to 9 on task 1, and a separate score for task 2, and then they average them together, but task 2 is worth 2/3, and task 1 is worth 1/3. The first criteria is called task achievement, and for task achievement in task 1, they are scoring your ability to answer all parts of the question, present accurate information about the graph or chart, highlight important features, and support your conclusions with data from the graph or chart. For task achievement in task 2, they are assessing your ability to answer all parts of the question, develop and support relevant main points, give a clear position, and provide a conclusion. So that's what they're looking for in criteria number 1. Number 2 is called coherence and cohesion. It means making your writing flow by organizing information and ideas into paragraphs and using a range of linking devices. So in the most basic form, just making sure you have at least 3 or 4 clear paragraphs, using linking words to introduce those paragraphs. And then at the higher levels, it means having good linking words even inside of your paragraphs and making all of your sentences flow together well, using linking words, prepositions, conjunctions, pronouns. So those are things that are going to give you a high score in coherence and cohesion. Criteria number 3 is called lexical resource, and it means using a wide range of appropriate vocab words and phrases properly and spelling words correctly. So one thing that's really important with lexical resource is to make sure you don't use the same word over and over again. You want to think of synonyms and paraphrasing, because if you use the same word too many times, they know you have a limited vocabulary. Another thing you want to do is try to use advanced, uncommon words, but make sure you do it properly, because sometimes people try to use really advanced words, but they don't quite know how to use that word properly, and they actually lose marks because it makes their writing sound a little bit weird. Another thing that can help your score here is 2-word verbs or 3-word verbs, also known as phrasal verbs. So some people think you need to use a lot of really advanced idioms like raining cats and dogs and kicking the buckets. Those aren't really what they're looking for in IELTS. Normal, natural English writing would have phrasal verbs and 2- and 3-word verbs. So that's how you get your idiomatic language in, and try not to use crazy metaphors and idioms. And finally, the last criteria is grammatical range and accuracy, which is using a range of sentence structures and verb tenses and using proper punctuation. So unlike vocabulary, with grammar, you actually want to try some really advanced grammar forms even if you're not 100% sure that you can do them correctly. Because of the way IELTS is scored, even if all of your sentences are correct, if they're all really simple and short, you'll get a very low score in grammatical range and accuracy. But if you attempt some challenging sentences, some complicated grammar forms, that will up your score even if you don't write them 100% correctly. So don't go way off the deep end and try to do something you're completely unfamiliar with, but push yourself a little bit and try to use the most complex and advanced grammar forms that you know. So those are the 4 criteria for IELTS writing, and they will give you a score from 1 to 9 in each of those criteria. For task 1, you'll get a task 1 score. Then they will give you a score in each of those criteria, average them together for task 2, and you get a task 2 score. And then they will take your task 2 score for 2/3 and your task 1 score for 1/3 and average those together, and you will get your final IELTS writing band score. For both IELTS writing tasks, you need to make sure that you answer the question, the whole question, and only the question. So that means if they ask you to answer 3 things, you need to answer all 3 of those things in your essay. And everything that you write should be related to those 3 things. Don't go off topic and start writing about your grandma unless your grandma is really important for answering their question. The other thing that's important is make sure you cross those word limits. So you need to write more than 150 words for task 1 and more than 250 words for task 2. If you write less than the required amount of words, you will lose half a point approximately for every 20 words you are short of the limits. The last tip for you today is all of your writing must be in paragraphs. So don't write bullet points and don't write headings in between your paragraphs, and you will be on your way to getting a good IELTS writing score. I know there's a lot more to cover, so we will be coming out with a lot more videos soon. And if you want to see those videos, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, like the video, share it with anyone you know who might be preparing for IELTS. And if you need more help with your IELTS preparation, definitely check out www.ieltscoachpro.com for one-on-one tutoring, live group classes, mock tests, writing feedback, speaking feedback. There's even a free study guide.